Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. It is the 8th of August 2018. Two topics that I've been thinking about. The first one is something I've thought about before, which is to do with, well, it sort of connects to the Bible and the Quran in the sense that when it's been translated, where did they get these terms? Like when it says in the Bible, God created the earth. I think in the Quran it says that as well. The use of the word earth. And terms like that. Now I know that's why Islamically they don't really like the idea of translation, which is why it's better if you learn the original Arabic so that you're not relying on a translation, you're using exact words that were around at the time when they're written. Because when you translate, you adopt new words to fit the meaning of the original wording. So you can get it can be misleading. With the Bible, people don't care about that because most people read it in English. There is no, like, if you pick up a Quran, you'll notice if it has English translation, it will have the Arabic there, and that point is there to always make sure that it stays the same and that it is the actual original text. And the other thing is a translation, and obviously translation, there is always a problem with them, which you'll know if you ever learn about languages and trying to translate things. It doesn't always work well. With the Bible, you pick it up, it'll be in English, there's no original text. Obviously the New Testament, the only surviving text is in Greek, which is not the original, because the original would have been in Aramaic, or would have been in Hebrew, or I think it would have been Hebrew. And Jesus spoke Aramaic, wasn't it? But I think it would have been written in Hebrew because it was written after him, not by him. It was about him. So that doesn't exist anymore, that original. It's just the translation that exists. And then you've translated a translation. Anyway, I'll get more to that. I don't know, the Old Testament, the first 5 books of the Bible, I believe that they do have the original, the Torah, is it the Talmud? I think they have the actual thing, but also when you pick up a Bible, you won't see the original text, the original language there. And you can tell that translations are problematic in the sense that there's how many different versions of the Bible, and even if you just search on Google for a verse, you'll get all the different Bibles and all their different translations of that, and they can mean completely different. You can get, you get the gist, but that you can have variations which can, especially in religious terms, it can split communities. There's been whole religions, whole sections of religions based on a reading of one verse, like Protestants and Catholics with the blood issue. So anyway, the thing I was trying to get to is Earth. Why do we call our planet that we live upon Earth, meaning ground? And I was looking that up, and I wanted to know how far does that word go back to, because this planet isn't the Earth. And this is another one of these lies within plain sight, in the sense, if you ask someone where do you live, they say the Earth was not the Earth. There's no, we made that term up. Or did we? Well, because if you search, you'll find that the term originated from English and German, although there is some claim to it in Latin as well. And if you look at Hebrew and Arabic, I think there are similarities. The word almost it slightly spelled differently, but when you pronounce it, it comes out the same thing. So I don't know. Does that mean there is some credence to the fact that this is actually the Earth and it's hidden there, or is it just coincidence? So yeah, the Earth, I think it was first used was it the 16th century. So I'm just wondering, before the 16th century, what did we call this planet that we walk upon? Well, it sounded like a song, didn't it? After Could be a poem out of that. What was it? What did people between 0 AD and 1500 call this planet? Interesting, isn't it, when you think about that? And the other interesting thing is that obviously the Old Testament was written 6 BC, before Christ. The New Testament was written in the 1st century AD. Interestingly, into my claim that I always think that St. Paul created Christianity, in the sense that my Islamic belief is that Jesus didn't actually die on the cross. He appeared to die on the cross. He was revived, and that was backed up by the Bible. When he was pierced, the blood came out, whereas it shouldn't have if he was actually dead. Therefore, he wasn't dead. He was sick, for a better word, exhausted, whatever it was. He recovered. He was given medicine. He was good at medicine, and he was given medicine or whatever, and he got better, and then he just got out. And then he walked about and carried on his mission, because his mission was to find the lost tribes of Israel, which were 12 of them. They weren't all in the Israeli area, and I think there's only 2 actually were in that area. So for him to fulfill his mission, which every prophet must do, he had to continue that, and that they are dotted around further areas, which is where he went. So that's the belief. And my belief is that St. Paul wanted to co-opt on the movement to create a way of controlling people, and that the Roman Empire was finishing, and this was a better way of controlling people without need of force. And it's interesting that the first parts of the New Testament, which I didn't know, but backs up this sort of kind of theory, is the first parts of the New Testament were of 50, 60 AD, and they were the letters, I think, Acts of St. Paul. So so the New Testament, you've got to remember, wasn't written by Jesus, wasn't written by any of the people around him. Luke, which is one of the first parts of the, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, the other 3 didn't appear in the first Bible, but Luke did from the very beginning, along with Acts, and he was a companion of St. Paul. So you've got to remember that this wasn't the words, these were people writing about an event after the event, or some of them, and almost 100 years. And Jesus himself said he'd not come to change the law. And the Quran was written about 600 plus AD. So I'm just wondering, obviously, it's interesting how both, the first English Bible was the 16th century, and the first English Quran was the 17th century. So for 1600 years, there was no English Bible. I don't know, when did explorers go around colonising? I guess it was after that, was it? It's interesting how everything seemed to start after the 15th century, because I guess that was when it started being passed around to other countries around the world. It is weird how the last 400 or 500 years all the developments seem to have taken place, but my big question is, we call this planet the Earth, that only existed from the 15th century. What did we call the Earth before that? Interesting, really, isn't it? Because it just goes on to that whole idea of truth, and the fact that we accept things without even questioning them or thinking about them. If you ask someone, where do you live, what planet is this, they would say Earth. And strangely, it is actually the only planet that isn't named after a Roman or Greek god, which apparently all the others are. And the other thing I want to get into is just a quick thing, was about work. How I was thinking to myself, how when you go to a shop, people will argue for their work, will defend the rules, and yet they're just individuals like us. The only people who really are the actual companies is the actual owner, and other people with power that have been given a certain amount of power, but they have to answer for what they do. the one who owns it never has to. Well, except within the law. But it's amazing how we've been bred to fight for companies, to work for them, to bleed blood, sweat and tears. You know, even me, when I'm at work, I'll get worked up if I can't get something done in time, or I'm trying my hardest to get things done. Why do I feel that passion towards something that, you know, okay, yeah, they're paying me and so that I can live in this world, but the amount of passion and amount of enthusiasm we give to something that's taken away our time. If you think about that, it's quite weird, but you know, like if you go into a shop and you want to return something, they can be really arsy with you, or this, that and the other, and what does it matter to them? They ain't making the money, but they will fight for them. It's like with a country, people will actually die for this piece of land that they believe is theirs. How did we get to that kind of mentality? Interesting, really. Anyway, that's some 2 thoughts to think about. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.